Hi, Marina. It's very nice to meet you here on Zoom.
Hi.
Um,
Yes, very nice.
do I understand correctly? You are in Lyon right now.
No, I am in Paris actually right now.
Okay. So
I just moved.
okay. I see. And how is the situation right now in Paris?
Well, in France in general, the locked-in was over on Monday. We have a bit more freedom, but it depends on the area. And Paris is a red area, which is a bit less freedom as the green ones, of course, because Paris is still the biggest town and a lot of not so many places in the hospital, so we have to be extra careful. We have to wear a mask when we go outside. There are still some shops closed, and you have to be careful with the social distancing. You can meet only one friend at the time, and yeah, a lot of sports are not possible. But yesterday I could go to golf, so that was very, very nice. Be in the nature, and yeah, that's
fantastic. Well, coming to the first question, you told me when we briefly chatted that you have already been to St. Petersburg, but still you were supposed to come back in May. And what were you excited about particularly? Is there anything that the festival has stimulated in you regarding expectations or certain wishes you wanted to fulfill?
Well, last time I went to St. Petersburg, I had only 4 days, so I was a bit frustrated that I couldn't see everything I wanted to see, and so I was very excited to come back to visit a bit also the surrounding of St. Petersburg. I wanted to go to see some monasteries, and I am a big fan of Russian culture and art and architecture and history, so I was very looking forward about that, and also the public of St. Petersburg is, last time I went there was really amazing how warm and friendly they are. And so this festival was for me the occasion to come back and also to meet some new colleagues and colleagues I already know. And yeah, I think it was something I was looking forward very much. Yes.
Yeah, but I hope that in 2021 it will happen for
I
sure.
think it will. I hope also.
Yes, and you are also learning Russian.
Yes.
For the sake of learning the pronunciation in some areas, or actually learning Russian?
Actually learning Russian because it's something I wanted to do since a long time, because as I said, I really like the literature and the operas and many things about Russia. I also have a lot of Russian friends, and it's a language that I find very, very beautiful. And for me, of course, it would help, because when I learn a Russian role, it takes me so long because I have to learn phonetics, and I even don't know when the word starts and ends, and I don't know what it means. So it's hard to make an interpretation of a role that you don't really understand what you are meaning when you say something. So that's why I really want to learn it, so that I can make a proper interpretation and play with the words and the colors. And yeah,
I recently listened to a podcast about Czech opera. I speak Russian and German, but when I listened to Czech opera, I got super confused.
yes,
I was wondering whether this would also be a language you would be considering to learn at some point, or
no. Because Russian will take me already so much time.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just finished to learn the alphabet, which took me already so long, and now I'm learning the rules, and it's really difficult actually. So I think it will be enough. I already speak 5 languages, so it will be 6, and 6 is good. I think it's enough.
And Czech opera you'll somehow manage. Just take some pronunciation.
There are not so many things for mezzos compared to the Russian operas, I think.
Okay, so coming to Russian opera, is there a particular opera you particularly like, and which character would you like to play regardless of gender? Or even type of voice?
Well, I sang already Boris Godunov and Onegin. I really like Onegin. I think it's a very beautiful opera. I loved Boris Godunov as well, but I didn't do the version with the character of Marina. That's one of the characters I would love to sing, not only because it has my name, but I think it's a very beautiful part. I would love to do Paulina in Picdam. This is an opera I like a lot also. Yeah, for me, character-wise, I love the character of Boris in Boris Godunov.
Mm-hmm.
If I would be this kind of voice, I would love to sing it because it's so interesting. This double face, the father, the loving father, and the tyrant, completely mad man. And I love this kind of deep characters. So that would be a role I would love to sing if I could. But Marina in this opera would be a very interesting part also.
Great.
And I mean, there are so many things for the low voices. It's one of those cultures and music that love low voices. So for me, it's just like taking a bath, you know, I can just sing and it's very beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. I read about a little bit, you have different types of biographies, so I kind of got a median of what I would like to ask you. And in your childhood and in your youth, you actually did not really practice classical singing, right? You studied the flute.
Yes, because I was since I'm a baby and I'm 1 or 2, you see me always dancing, singing, and because my parents were both musicians in the classical music. My father was a conductor, and so we were listening to classical music and opera all day long. And I'm always trying to sing on top of it and trying some coloratura. And at 8 years old, I said to my parents, I want to be an opera singer. And they were like, yeah, well, you have to wait a bit. And meantime, you can learn the flute because it's the same breathing technique and support. And it was actually not my favorite instrument because I find it a bit boring somehow because you have just one color, you know? I mean, yeah, mostly one sound. And I liked to play with the colors. So that's why I did it. It was a very good school for breathing, for seeing those fast, coloratura. And my teacher always made me sing them before I play them. So that for me now, when I see all those, I don't know how you say, half notes, or I am very quick to see what it means, and I'm very used to this. You know, I was like with the flute, and so that's a very good school. Also to learn the solfège and the theory was good. And later on, I didn't go to opera yet. I went to metal music. I sang in a metal band for almost 8 years.
But that means that you were singing loud and basically what about the vocal cords?
Well, you know, there's this préjugé of people thinking that when you scream, we call it growling. Growling is saturating your voice. This much louder. And people think you will break your vocal cords. Yet many opera metal singers, they are just like, you know, they can do that for 2 hours every day when they are on tour. So there is a technique about that. It's not just you screaming out. It's there are different techniques. You can reverse the sound, which means you inhale your sound, and when you do it loud, it sounds really good, and you don't hurt anything. It's just about breathing. And there is the one coming from your stomach, like from your diaphragm, where you exhale it. So you have 2 techniques, and I used the reversed one. Plus, I sang. So yeah, so I was mixing clear singing, lyrical actually singing, and screaming, growling, reversed, which I could sing 2 hours in a show without getting tired. My first show, I was dead after half an hour because I had no technique. And then I thought, how can I manage to sing every day now without breaking my voice? You know, so I found a place, and without noticing, I actually found a lyrical space, a lyrical position of my voice. But I had no idea. I just realized that this was the position I was less tired with. So this is actually quite, I think all the past I had with classical music, listening to opera all day, gave me this thing naturally. And thanks God, because then when I started singing, I was 25, and I had much less work than I thought, because I had already this position ready from the metal scene. So yeah.
So interesting. You'd never think that this could be a step towards, or at least have experiences from metal singing that could benefit you in a way. So it's good.
Actually, we are many opera singers who comes from the rock and the metal scene.
Okay.
Many. I thought I would be one of those exception, and I would be so special, but I'm not. Every time I'm on stage with, a production with several colleagues, at least one comes from the rock or the metal scene. As a singer, as a guitarist, as a drummer, there are many. We can't imagine. It's so funny. Or pop music or jazz. We are many, and I think it makes us richer somehow for your personality, for the colors you can do with your voice. I think my vocal cords got so strong thanks to that music.
So do you see yourself as having a different presence when you're on stage and involving the word? And what is it that your audience loves most about you when you're there? Let's say an average audience opinion about your performance. Is it that it's more engaging, it's more interesting, just from the feedback you've had?
I never did a very classical recital with only leaders. I always built some kind of shows.
Okay.
For Switzerland, where I studied, they gave me this opportunity to have a carte blanche. I can be free of building whatever show I want. And they gave me a room, they gave me a hall, the material, the communication, everything. And I could just do whatever I wanted to create. Because this is also, before singing, I also did literature and philosophy studies and marketing. And so I'm someone who needs to create because opera is amazing, but you have to do what everyone tells you to do. The stage director, the conductor, and you have very little freedom in between. But when you can create your own recital that looks like you, because I only do what I love to do, so this is just pure freedom. And so my recitals are, what the public loves about them is that they are quite crossover. So the first part is always very classical with opera, operette, lieder, and then we go to chanson, cabaret, jazz, pop, slam, but always with a story, which means at some point you don't know even that I switched to another repertoire because it means something. And so I have this with a piano, saxophone, and double bass, and we do the musicians are actually acting with me.
Is this the Love Has No Borders?
Yes, that's Love Has No Borders. That's one of the projects I have, and they are also acting with me when they're not playing, which means it's really alive on stage. And I think what they tell me that they love is that they are always discovering new genres, new songs, and they feel very involved with me because I also bring some on stage with me for one song, and I make them laugh and I make them think and I ask them questions, and somehow it's very lively and very fresh, I think. And that's the public, I think they like what I do because it's very natural and I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not. And it's new, it's something they are not used to, so it's kind of shaking them a bit. And I like because I have youth coming to my recitals and also old people and some people who never came to see something like that, and they are like, oh, opera is not that old and boring, it's actually cool, and this is what I'm trying to do, to break the walls, let's say.
And for this particular, because I only found information about this one, just maybe it's somewhere else, but the fastest what I could find was this. Love Has No Borders. You did a tour in Switzerland, but also abroad. Where exactly was it that you
we did it in Aix-la-Chapelle. We did it in Spain in 2 different places. We did it in France also. And it's actually very nice to see that in different... Well, I adapted to the countries, which means when I went to Spain, I spoke to the public in Spanish. So I prepared before, and I also put more Spanish songs. This is cool with this project that I can really adapt the program, which means I did some folk Spanish songs, some de falla in between. And when I was in Germany, I did more German. And I spoke to them in German. And In Germany, it took them a bit longer to they were really shocked in the beginning, like, what is this? It was very funny. And then the second half, they started to be warm, and I thought that they adopted me at the second part, but it took them longer. In Spain, it was in 1 second. They were completely very, very participating. It was really cool. So I really hope I can do it more often. This one is really nice.
Yeah, so it looks like you love multidisciplinary arts and connections,
Yes.
and not only across genres, but also in arts. So I imagine you would also love like visual design happening behind you,
Exactly.
or dances.
That's something I'm working on it right now. Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm in Paris to build a collective of artists.
Okay.
That's so funny you say that, because it's exactly why I'm here right now.
Mm-hmm.
With dancing, with painting, with visual design, with acting, many different kind of arts, and we are trying to build some projects all together. But we cannot be so many, so we are just like 8 people with distance, and we are trying to think of something for those
online
troubled times.
For online,
it will be
like streaming.
yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking about streaming, you have been quite involved in Instagram live stories,
Yes.
and you took quite a strong stance as an answer to some of your colleagues who said that performances, you need to pay for them, whether they're online or not, and that artists are going outside and putting themselves online is actually not good for them. And you took quite a clear position answering this kind of argument, saying that you think otherwise. So maybe you can
I do. So yeah, it's because I mean, I took a clear stand, and at the same time I tried to understand why some of my colleagues wrote me, but they wrote me that it was particularly risky to do what I was doing, because of giving a bad habit to the audience to have for free a performance. And I understand that those are very hard times for us, and many of us have to probably change work, and they are in a very financially tricky situation right now, because we are losing all our jobs until the end of October, November, December. So I understand that, and I understand there will be a point where we have to get paid. But for me, that was the moment people were locked in, and there is a solidarity thing. And when I saw that so many different big names, like chefs, they were putting their recipes online for free. I don't know, comedians making little sketches every day for free. Yoga apps for free. I don't know, everybody took this stand to propose something, to entertain, to escape those very hard moments. And I thought this is also I'm doing music also for that. I'm not only singing for money, and I cannot ask for money when I sing with my iPhone on my living room. I mean, this is not a high quality thing. This is just something I do because, first of all, I think singing is sharing, and I think this is the main reason why I do it. And also because it was good for me. It was good for me to keep busy and to have a program to set every week, and stay, connected with my voice, and motivated, and connected with the people who follow me and who want to listen to me. So for me, there is only benefits to do that, both on the human side, because you give something that you can give on those hard times, and you do it for free because it's normal, I think, to do it for free. But in a second time, now we are not locked in anymore, and now we will have to find some projects that are paid, because we need to survive also. So now I would accept, and I would not do it for free if it's in a beautiful hall with a good quality of filming, of recording, and this is a proper recital with a piano. Now I will ask to be paid, because this is a completely different thing. Yeah. And I also don't believe that the public is stupid. I think the public will never prefer live streaming to big, normal, real live. I think the public will be so happy when live will come again, and they will go for it, and they will pay for it like they always did. But in the meantime, we have to find new forms to keep them interested in music and connected to us. So
yeah, I like
there are things to do.
Yeah, I like what you said about solidarity, and I was just wondering because I also work in the music field, and it was so much discussion also regarding culture is not being appreciated if everything goes online, if there's broadcasts everywhere from everyone. And one of the artists who was really clearly broadcasting a lot of things regularly on Twitter was Igor Levit. And it was interesting because the let's say the music business kind of divided around him. A lot of criticism because he was doing it in a very, they thought, oh, it's not nice presented, the piano was not this way, he sat just like as if he were at home, what are we to expect? And other people were saying, oh well, that's cool. And then I realized, because my husband is involved in a completely different sphere, that many of his colleagues and many of the people I've never seen in a concert hall before were actually commenting on like, Twitter for Igor Levit.
Yeah.
And how cool is this? And it seems to attract maybe not the same audience, but at least another audience who actually see this as a sign of solidarity, which made me think now that you're saying that maybe we're all very arrogant. I mean, in the classical world.
Yeah, I was a bit, I think it's the same in every field. There are always those who will be proactive and trying things, and there are those who will be frustrated and criticizing because they didn't think of it, or they don't find in themselves the strength or the motivation to do it. And then there are those who are undecided and just probably very sad of the situation. And I thought about those ones. And I understand that for them it's hard and they don't want to sing and they don't want to do this. It's fine. I mean, the conclusion of what I wrote on this article is just do whatever you want to do. I mean, there is no one who can judge and we should not be in a mood of judging and criticizing, because it's absolutely not a good time for that. We should be sticking together and saying to anyone who wants to propose something, yeah, do it. I mean, do whatever you feel like, if it makes you feel better and if it's important to you, and be like filled with love and comprehension and solidarity. For me, this was, I mean, I don't mind if people are not agreeing with what I did, or with I also read a lot of things about singers in their balcony, singing for the neighbors. Let them do it if they feel good. If the neighbors can escape for 5 minutes their gray day, let them do it. What should everybody criticize all the time those who are trying something out? You know?
Maybe it's a product of a very capitalist society, but I actually also thought about like singing on the balcony. I think that's a great gesture. And actually in Berlin a week ago, Cameron Carpenter made this tour around hospitals and a home for the elderly. And so he made he had a van. Inside the van, he installed an organ because he's an organist. And then he played for them, and they could come out in the park and sit. And that was one of the things that I also think, if you sing on the balcony, you don't just sing for people your same age, but in your block, there's also people who are older. You're actually, maybe we are not questioning enough the role of a musician. Maybe the role of a musician is not just always someone who earns money and then sings.
Exactly.
Maybe it's someone who also strengthens communities. Like if we go back in, like, I don't know, let's say we're going to an Uzbek village somewhere. There these things, when you tell them, you can only sing and then you have to get paid, that's like a no-go. Even in the Caucasus, Georgia, for example, I've been there a lot, and there are many musical villages. They sing a lot, polyphony, like it's crazy. They are very talented, and they'd never ever at a dinner where it's just natural to sing would ask you for money. It's a cultural thing too, but there it's really seen as something as part of the community. And maybe the fact that we are more an individualistic society is leading us to lose this.
I think so too. And I mean, I really understood also why people said that. I think it's very there's a lot of anxiety about this situation, and this is something we have to acknowledge and we have to understand. But at the same time, that I don't judge them for not doing anything, don't judge me for doing something. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, fair play. At least this is a strong enough statement. The rest,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then I'm very available for discussing new ways of earning our living with singing in those times, because we need to find some, and I'm really trying to find some. And I saw very, very cool already ideas, like Marie-Claude Chapuis, this mezzo soprano from Switzerland. She just proposed me, and I said yes, to do a recital open air for a drive-in concert. You know,
Is that in
meaning that people
Fribourg?
will come in they will come in their car, like
Yes.
old school movies
Yes.
outside in the US. This is such a fantastic idea. Every country should do that. It's perfect. You know, you're there,
I love it.
you entertain the people, they are in their car. I mean, it's a good idea. And that's one of those ideas that we need at the moment. And I'm getting paid for it. And I will enjoy doing it, even if the conditions will be probably difficult. But I don't care. It's a very good, you know, those creative minds we need a lot.
Imagine we would be living in a time without Instagram right now, or Facebook. What it would be like.
Yeah, I think we would have to go, like you say, we would have to go outside, respecting the distance, to not, especially when you are a singer, you are very, you can give this virus very quickly, because of course you project. So you have to be super careful, but there are many ways. You can be with a microphone and a guitar, as you say, in a van, anywhere, far, you know, and people can just look at you from their windows. I mean, there are many. We can pre-record video things and then project it at the TV. I think the TV channels should work together with us now, because we are one of the only things that can still go on. Like movies cannot, like the tournage, you know, the TV series, acting, they are stuck as we are. So we can do things. I'm very lucky to be a singer, actually. Or maybe, you know, it's also maybe the day to just do something else with your life for 6 months, you know, like something like humanitarian jobs, I don't know, something you never had time before, and you will maybe not have later, and now you have it. And I know that some of my friends, they want to learn one language and go to this country and stay there and work completely like farming jobs and learn this language. That's a good thing, you know. Maybe I could do it with Russian. I would go to Russia and work with horses and you know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Let me know if you do. We'll check.
Thank you. Well, it's not for tomorrow, because we can still not travel. But first, I'm gonna try to do something with with what I know best, singing.
Yeah.
And then we will see. But it's also possible, you know, if you have really nothing to do, you will not just wait home that something happens. Do something with this time.
You have a very holistic reasoning. And does that actually, is this also part of the fact that you studied liberal arts, as in not liberal arts, you studied philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And literature.
And literature. And has this in a way helped you become formed before you started your professional opera
Yes.
career?
I used to think when I started opera that it would be a waste of time what I did before, because I was so old to start, like everybody told me when I started. And actually, I think it was really a luck, because I was older. I had done other things in my life, so I was enriched with all this. And you know, this thing we learn in France in these studies that I did of literature and philosophy is to have a critical mind and to have maybe some distance with things. And it helps me so much with our job. Also, I did also marketing just after that, and that also helps me. And I think it gave me a kind of distance with also what I do. I always thought, if singing doesn't work, I will do something else, you know. So I was prepared already since I started to be maybe a French or literature teacher if it doesn't work, to have other diplomas in case. So I'm very relaxed, I would say, with my job, because
Okay.
I know that I have all the diplomas, and for me it's only pleasure then to sing, because it's a bonus in my life. And I also think the fact that I started later, also I was already, like you say, formed somehow as a person, and I knew maybe a bit more what I want, what I don't, from all those experiences I have before. So for instance, I listen a lot to my own instinct and voice. You know, when there are many teachers or agencies who tells you you should sing this or that after a competition, I'm quite clear with myself of what I want and what I don't. And maybe I'm also very reasonable. Like, you know, I was told when I was 27, I just had 2 years of singing, and yeah, you should sing Wagner and Eboli. And I was like, yeah, of course. So I didn't listen to that. And I also refused so many roles that I think are not for me right now, even if they are tempting, like Dalila or Carmen. So it gave me this, I think, distance and maturity that are very helpful right now. And it gives me maybe a will to analyze the text before I sing. This I love, you know, and maybe I hope some rich interpretation later on, you know, because if you really focus on the text, you should do better your job, I think. I hope.
Yeah, I agree with you. So you briefly mentioned competitions, and the festival that you were supposed to perform in is actually a result of prize winners who are selected from different competitions: instrumentalists, conductors, singers, percussionists, as part of instrumentalists also, and even sometimes composers. So basically this festival supports these musicians when they are finished with performances. And my question to you is, did you think it was necessary to take part in all of these competitions? Probably they have been all been very different.
My most recent competition was Operalia.
But you reached the finals, which is an amazing achievement for this kind of a scope of a competition.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, it was. Yeah.
And
but Kattenburg, yeah, no, I did many different ones. I did 5, I think. Always reached the final, apart from Montserrat Caballé one, but and got prizes. And I think I would definitely recommend singers and other musicians to do it, because it's a very good experiment in a good and in a bad way. Meaning you learn a lot about the business, about yourself, about many things. I learned so much during competitions. I'm not very good, actually. I don't know. I think it's not where I am the best when I do competition, because somehow you don't have much freedom. You know, you have this. The only one I really liked was Geneva, about the program, because you sing almost 2.5 hours during the whole. It's 5 rounds. It's huge. You have a whole recital to do in semifinal, and then you can do what you like. And this is what I really enjoyed. I didn't really like the outcome, because it was quite tough what they told me, but it was very enriching for artistically. And Geneva competition has this policy to follow the winners of prizes for many years afterwards and propose them. They are kind of a agency later on. They give you a lot of concerts, workshops for free. And right now, for instance, they wrote all the laureate, the winners. They wrote an email to say, how can we help you in those times? Tell us what we can do. So they are very loyal afterwards. Like I won the 3rd prize 5 years ago, and they are still proposing me concerts. And they are very, it's a real friendship that you have with them for long afterwards. Operalia, I think it was a good exercise. It was very hard, because the pressure is high. Very high. And it was very hard for me. The fact that I came to final, I sang quite very good. You know yourself. You know when you sing well or not.
Yeah.
And this was a moment I really sang well. And I got very hard feedbacks. Very like I was told I was too old for Rossini. I was too cold, but that's because I'm from Switzerland. I heard horrible things, like really. very hurting and not fair, I think. But I also learned from this that even if you are in a final of such a big competition, you just should be yourself and forget about there were many rules, like you cannot move from the cross on the floor, and that's got me stuck somehow physically, because I don't like to be static when I sing an opera aria. And so maybe I lacked of freedom in my movements, and you can see it. And then of course, you can think I'm cold, but people who were judging, they saw me in other rounds where I was absolutely not. So anyway, I learned. I know that now in auditions, I move a lot, I'm much more expressive with my arms, which is a school of acting that we don't have in France. We are taught to be very in the emotions of the face, but not with the lot of arms. Anyway, that's one of the things I learned. But also it gave me very good incomes, because I got several roles, La Scala and Zurich, thanks to this competition. And I think it's also a moment where you grow as a, for me it was very clear that I learned every time something important for the rest of my career. So it's not easy. I mean, when I did Geneva, I received many feedbacks that were completely the opposite of the ones I received later on, and you have just to be true to yourself. That's it, and it's not easy. And you should be also very strong and prepared for tough outcomes and unfairness. Also,
I think it always hits the unusual one harder than it hits the perfectionist and the one who in any parts of life. I can completely understand.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but then
it's good. You should do it. Competition. I think it's a very good training.
Yeah, and good for the nerves to get a bit tougher.
Yeah.
So you can resist others. Maybe imagine in 10 years you sing in an opera production and there's this really terrible director, and you know you have to stay because it's in a very important, I don't know, opera hall or with whatever is attached to it, and you already have this preparation. And in fact, often even crazy directors respect you more when they see that you can resist.
I think definitely this work is not for people who are too sensitive and too weak. I saw it already several times, even if I have just started somehow, but it can be very tough. And if you are not strong and very clear and you know who you are, and it can be very hard. So I mean, most of the time it's very nice, because it's rare that you have a tough experience on stage. Most of the time people are kind and respectful and nice, but sometimes it's just can be one person, and then it can be a nightmare, really. So you have to be super strong.
So referring back to Mazar's Young Singer Award, which now, as you have explained, is quite a big thing. How did it happen? You just got a message, or your agent got a message, or?
My agent got the message that, no, actually they released a list. So this, how I understood it, is that during the whole year, people are proposing names. It can be journalists, directors, public. People propose names. And if your name goes a lot, then you are nominated. And they are nominating 8 people or 6, I don't remember, in each category. You have many, many categories. It can be also best theater, best production, best... And that in the best young singer, which happened 1 year after Operalia, even less, where I was told I was too old. And, I was nominated in the best young singer, which was quite a revenge already. So I was there, and I never expected it, to be very honest. I was so surprised. And then I came to the ceremony, and I was supposed to sing, but unfortunately there was this huge virus, and I couldn't.
Another virus.
There was a huge virus, a very big flu in Switzerland and in Germany this year, around March, April. So all of us got it, and I got it 1 week before the ceremony, so I couldn't sing. But I was there just because I thought, that's going to be nice. I had a beautiful dress from a haute couture, and I was so happy, So
I was just like almost like eating popcorns, like being like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this ceremony. And then I won it, and I was so unprepared because never ever I could think I will win. So I was just sitting, and then I see my name and in a huge giant screen and 1,000 people. You know, I was like, what? I had to speak to get my awards, like in the cinema. You know, it's the same. It's a big ceremony. So you go, and there is Sarah Connolly here, and she's giving me the award of Best Young Singer, and I'm like, I have to say something, and that's it was a magic moment, and it was a beautiful reward for. I took so many risks, you know, because I left everything, my band with whom I was so close, you know, after 8 years every day together, not every day, but many days together, and my country and my studies. And I just, like this, one day I just decided I go to Vienna and start singing opera, and I had no idea if it was possible that I will make it, you know. So I sacrificed a lot. I was not sure if it was for a good reason. And then, you know, I got a lot of obstacles on my way also, and I really never gave up, and I trusted life to show me the way. And then I got this award, and it was kind of for me the reward for that, for daring, for being myself, for following my instinct, and for never listening to those who tells you it's too late, you're too old, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that's
I imagine there must have been a few people saying that, and it's such a pity that in any profession, like even if you want, let's say, even if you want to, let's say, I would say I want to become a medic or a lawyer. Even then, people would tell me it's too late.
Yeah.
You have to study this in your 20s. But actually, with more time comes more experience and more.
Exactly.
Maybe you can
I
be
agree.
better.
I think it's so stupid, and also vocally. You need time, your voice needs time to develop. And for me, it's really, I'm sorry, but it's really stupid to start at 16 or 17 or 18, and then you end at 22, and no one takes you because 22, you are too young. Anyway, the opera houses won't trust you. If you are a light soprano, maybe you will get to an opera studio. But if not, that's it. You can wait 3 more years doing nothing, being lost because no one wants you, even if you have a huge, beautiful voice. And this is, so many of my friends are in this situation. They go out of school, they are super young, they are talented, and suddenly they have no job. And what can they do, you know? So it's too soon. It's too soon because it's this contrast between you should study singing early, but you should not go on stage before you have a more, I don't know, more experience and ready vocally. So there is this paradox that is incoherent and put so many of us in trouble. Because I think it's 25 maybe is a bit late. Maybe 23 to start would be good. Depends on your voice. As a mezzo is fine. As a high soprano, maybe you need to start at 20. I don't know, but there's not, everybody's different, and I think we should give a chance to everyone if there is a talent, even if it's old. Who cares? I mean,
well, very well said. So thank you so much. It was a very nice conversation. And I
enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for your questions.
So I wish you a lot of luck, and I hope to see you soon in St. Petersburg.
Yes, me too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.